Hello everyone, welcome to Straight Axle Dubs. Today I'm here with Gary from VW Life,
hey,
and we're going to be learning the story of his bus that we're sitting in front of. As long as I've known you, you've had this bus, or as long as I've been around it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. One of those vehicles that you get and you just hold on to forever.
Right.
So I've got some questions, and we're going to sort of dive deeper into the history, because we're going to find out some of the story, because you never know the history that some of these vehicles hold.
That's right. This one has a good history.
So first off, how did you come across the bus? Was it like a classified? Was there Craigslist?
Yeah, this was back in the old days. It was an early Craigslist. I think it was around 06, 07. 06, 07, it was a Craigslist ad. It just said like Volkswagen bus, and it was over in Wells Branch area. So I don't know if Jake went with me or not that first time, and I right off the bat then I noticed that it was a Westie, SO 4210 top. So I was very intrigued. At that time I had a 79 bay window Westie. But, I also had a 66 13 window deluxe as well. But, you know how it is with Volkswagens. You want one, you always get more.
Yeah,
so.
they multiply.
Yeah, so we ended up, I didn't even have a bus tow bar at the time. That's weird, I didn't. So I rigged up, I had some bus bumper brackets. So I took the bumper off of this, and I put my bus bumper brackets, and I made this out of a universal tow bar and towed it off the bumper brackets home. And it was interesting, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, did it run when you got it, or was it close to running, or what was that process sort of like?
Yeah, so it was in pretty rough shape. It was in pieces. Mm-hmm. It did not run. The motor was in pieces. It was in pieces. It did roll. The driver's side was all red. They had, red oxide primered the whole driver's side. And so it did not run. I remember that. And so, you get it home and start going through it. But I think one of the coolest things was the mound of paperwork. I found a stack of paperwork, probably, almost 6 inches deep, going back to the beginning of, of Jerry's life. Yeah, in 65, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's good that, especially when you're getting a new vehicle and you're trying to trace anything for parts or whatever, to have that much paperwork, let alone, dating back to the day it was sold.
Right.
Is very helpful.
Yeah, it was full of, I tried piecing together what was going on. Mr. Bible bought it out of Dallas. And he bought it up in Denver, and he would go from Denver to Florida a lot. I think he was running dope. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
You never know.
But it was weird. But he traded in a car, another bus, for this. Mm-hmm. In 65. I had that, but I don't have the window sticker for this, which would be just the ultimate. But I don't have that. But, it has like all the early tune-ups. Going in at 300 miles and 1,000 miles. And
wow.
Receipts go back. And then at some point, I'll get it out here in a minute. I think it's up there inside there. At some point, he stopped going to Volkswagen and started going to independents and then store shops. And then he sold it to another fella, and my guess is that fella wrecked it, or I don't know, the nose, because in 1990 it got the deluxe nose put on it from a 67.
You can see the holes for the
deluxe trim
on the side, yeah.
And the door here, the Titian door, and it's a 67 dash, but that was in 1990, which is 34 years ago.
Yeah. God.
And it cost $500. I had the receipt for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so next up, a lot of your vehicles are named, and I know that, you named a lot of your vehicles are named after presidents, and this one's not named after a president. So tell me the story there.
So, I don't think it was Mr. Bible. I think it was the second owner. This thing was covered and Grateful Dead stickers.
Nice.
I mean, like, you know, and I mean, they were probably legitimate too. I mean, to some degree, you know, early 80s through the 90s Dead stuff, you know. And I mean, there were stickers everywhere, inside, outside. And so, you know, one of my favorite things is cleaning out a Volkswagen because it's a treasure. You're trying to,
Right.
It's like a car archaeologist. You're putting together a story based on very little information. And I've done it enough. It's just, you know, you can kind of start figuring out maybe what this thing's life was like. But anyway, I found a little piece of paper with a phone number on it, and it said Jerry. And the lead singer of the Dead's Jerry Garcia, so that's how it got its name, Jerry.
Wow, yeah.
So yeah, it's not named after our president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like
Kennedy or Johnson
or D. White.
or W. Yeah.
So another thing, what's been, you know, obviously with how long you've been on this bus, there have definitely been some memories made. What's been your favorite memory in this bus over the time you've owned it?
Holy smokes. Well, you know, in 2015 we started doing Big Bend bus bashes. So that was the first bus bash, and so that was a great trip. I think it was sometime around that time frame, maybe 2013, maybe a little before that. But Jake and I took this on an epic trip up to Colorado, and the little 1641. It's the motor it had. I don't know where that motor that was in it, but I bought a motor, or probably traded in some stuff to Test Bud down in San Antonio and got it's Test Bud 1641, and that little motor still runs to this day. It's gone to Big Bend and 2 or 3 different buses, but that was one of my most memorable trips, was probably going to Colorado that first time with Jake. And then, you know, we've gone to Big Bend a bunch, and New Mexico bus bash was awesome during the COVID year. Arkansas bus bash was fun. And then, you know, and one of the funnest things that we've done was the Route 67 road trip this past spring break of 24. That was a lot of fun when we had you were at school, so you couldn't go.
Yeah, I was bummed I missed that, yeah.
But that was a memorable trip. But, you know, I guess that's probably, to me, is, you know, there's little things too. Like Jake and I have a secret spot that we can go down to watch the Formula One race, and we can sit on top of Jerry and see the race for free.
Yeah, instead of paying
whatever the Formula
Austin,
One got.
Texas ticket prices.
Yeah. So we got a spot that we kind of like, nobody's ever hassled us, because it's kind of like not on the track property. So that's a memorable experience doing stuff like that. But man, there's just too many things to really name. I mean, you know, it's been a lot of trips, you know.
Yeah. So piggybacking off of that last question, you've been on some trips, and, you know, I know that y'all talk about always carrying spares in case of a breakdown. Has there been one of those instances where something happened that sort of stuck out as like, how would this fail, or how, you know, something that really just like puzzled you on like, how could this happen in this like way?
Let me tell you, if it could happen, it's happened.
Right.
I mean, literally. It's something new every time.
Right.
But when you drive these things as much as I do, and this is pretty much my daily, you know. I mean, there's a lot of the cars here, but, you know, this is pretty much it.
Yeah.
But I you know, I mean, like, we've had, like, Jake and I were coming out of the mountains of New Mexico and rolling into Taos, and the little clutch lever arm that the clutch cable goes through, that little pin had just wore through, and that broke through, and I didn't have a spare at the time. So it was like, what do we do? So we ended up, we were at a parking lot with an auto parts store, and some, you know, people, of course, it gravitates people, hey, and I'll say, you got know anybody who can weld around here? He goes, yeah. So this guy ran me down to this welding shop, and I said, look, I took him that little clutch arm. I said, I need this welded up, and I need a hole right here. So he, you know, welded it up and had a pin in there for the hole. And, you know, the whole thing, we were probably down maybe 45 minutes,
Yeah.
you know, for that.
You got to think on your feet.
Yeah, so I mean, we were lucky because otherwise, I don't know, we would have been. It would have been
Probably screwed.
Yeah. So then now I carry a spare one of those.
Right.
You know, and that's a wear part. And you know, I mean, it had worn over 50-something years. And then, you know, another time, the master cylinder just decided down in Big Bend just decided to go kaput.
Ooh.
So so I was just buying brake fluid and just filling that up because it was puking out the master cylinder, not, you know.
Yeah, that's...
And then I had fuel pumps go out. I've had, you know, the Route 67. I had generator issues. Charging issues.
Good old generator brushes.
Yeah, generator brushes. I had a generator that was eating brushes down in Big Bend one year. It was a brand new generator. I think what happened was the brush holder was not properly when they remanufactured it, or when actually it was new.
Yeah.
It just wasn't set in there right.
Quality control.
Yeah. What else have we had? The only time that I had to come back, tow it home, I was going on a tour of Texas, and we made it to Burnett, and the generator bearing went out.
Really?
Yeah. So, and of course, generator drives everything. Your fan, so you're dead in the water. So Martin came and got me, and we flat towed it back, and then I jumped in Ziggy and kept on going. You know, just transferred everything in that. But
yeah.
you know, the electrical issues, I've had a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
Just weird stuff. Points close, phenolic piece on the points break off. I've had a Petronix coil just go kaput.
Interesting.
Yeah, man, you name it.
Yeah, it's happened probably.
It's happened. I mean, we were one year, we were getting ready to go to Big Bend, and I was doing PM the day before. And, you know, I was just checking everything and looking, and I'm like, taking the tires off. Because, you know, you're going to go on a 1,500-mile journey. You want to just go through and check everything. I was like, the stub axle was like, oh my gosh. And so the reduction box bearing on the passenger side, that upper bearing had gone bad. And this was running a big nut. And everything was good. I had an extra set of bearings, but what I didn't have was that cover. It goes on the back of the RGB, because you have to pop that off to get it to change that bearing. And I'm like, well, so we scavenged off the whole transaxle out of my single cab, which is a small nut.
Ooh.
And it had never. It's that single cab we pulled out of a junkyard. You know, it's been sitting in my shop, never been tested. So, and it was
kind of an unknown.
And this is the night before Big Bend.
Yeah.
So we're pulling an all-nighter. We had one of Jake's friends is over there grinding with the flywheel, because it was the bell housing was cut for 6-volt only,
Not 12.
and not 12-volt. So he was doing that, and we were lining it all up. You know, I threw new seals in, but you know, as best we could. And so that trip, we went and we got done about 10 o'clock. Went and got a hamburger, came back. It's good. And so, yeah, we made it all the way to Big Bend. Didn't have any issues. It leaked like a sieve, but
It
all
got
over
you
the
there
place.
and back.
It got us there and back. Yeah, I took a lot of extra transmission fluid.
Yeah. Ooh, that's you know, that's interesting, because you talk about, like, you know, any trip and doing, you know, maintenance, and to find something that big a night before a, you know, 1,000-mile plus road trip is like, you know, it kind of sets in as a panic. Like, what do I got to do to get this thing to drive and run and make sure that it, you know, I can finish a trip? Because, you know, I've seen, you know, in my car a fair share of breakdowns, you know, a throttle cable or something like that. And it's sort of like, that sort of mindset sets in where you're just like, I got to get this thing home one way or another. You know, like...
Yeah, well, that's it. That's, you know, that's your mentality. You know, it's all about, I mean, sometimes you get frustrated. I know one time at Big Bend, I was turning around. I had it. It was having motor issues. And it was with the motor that I had done. And it somehow kind of like, I wouldn't say it fixed itself, but it kind of did.
Right.
It just kind of self-corrected, and, you know, we survived.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what you do. You just, you know what you're doing. You're going out on these 50, 60-year-old vehicles, so you know you're getting into some sort of trouble. Yeah. So you know, you just take as many spares you can, and
be ready for anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another thing, you know, camping, you know, there's people that camp in motorhomes or RVs, whatever. What makes that different than camping in a bus or camping in any Volkswagen? You know, it's probably been done to be, it wouldn't be comfortable, but what makes that different than just camping in a regular RV?
Well, you know, I think it's the kind of the adventure part of it. You know, and you have to have an attitude of you're not going to get anywhere fast, first of all.
Right.
So, and then second of all, you're probably going to have some breakdowns. But, you know, it's cool when you're totally self-contained. There are no modern conveniences. I don't have a microwave or air conditioner or, you know, or even an electric fridge. And, you know, and I know people are doing that with their Vanagons. They got them all hopped up, and it's basically like an RV,
yeah.
which is cool, you know. And they can run down the highway at 80, 85 miles an hour, but that to me defeats the whole purpose of these things. I don't want to go down that highway at 85 miles. I do, sometimes I do, but like you know, these, I just want to just enjoy the journey and the destination. Getting there it's all about the journey. I mean, you know, we get wherever we're headed. Usually we get there, you know.
Yeah, usually.
Or make it back or something. Yeah.
And another thing, what's a piece of advice you would give to VW owners that haven't camped out of their VW that want to get into it?
Just do it, you know. I mean, drive your bus or Beetle around town, you know, and you try to shake it down, then go to a park that's, you know, an hour or so away, you know, and you're going to start seeing what you need. I mean, I carry way too much junk.
Right.
I mean, I'm loaded. I could probably thin this thing down like 500 pounds of all the crap I have. But, you know, I mean, I'll have it if I need it kind of thing. I mean, but, you know, you'll see what you need and, you know, like how you want it set up and what you're going to use to cook with and your cooking utensils and, you know, a table or how you're going to set your stove up, where you're going to put your ice chest, you know, how you're going to deal with your dog, you know, and your bowl for your dog and all that stuff. I mean, you know, like Willie he loves to camp. It's so funny. I was just getting this chair for you to sit in, and I was like, dude, I wish we were going somewhere right now, you know. We don't have a planned trip until Thanksgiving, you know, and like 5
months out.
Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of like, ugh. And the problem we have is living here in Texas.
It's hot.
It's hot, and yeah, hot's fine, but the other problem is to get out of Texas. We're smack dead in the middle of Texas here in Austin, you know. So for us to go somewhere just to get out of state. It's a day at least a day's trip.
Right.
You know, I mean, literally a day's trip in a bus. In a regular car, it's not, but in a bus it is. Yeah. And you want to get somewhere where there's elevation, where it's cooler, you know.
Right.
And
like what y'all did with New Mexico.
Yeah, we did, and gosh, my heart's out to those people. Now we were into Cloudcroft area, but Ruidoso is just north of there, and they had a couple of bad fires over there, so
yeah.
That's a bad situation over there, and I love that whole area because, you know, we were at 9,500 feet, dead of summer. It was 110 degrees over here, and we were 50 degrees at night over there.
Yeah, we went to New Mexico recently, and leaving Texas, you think, you know, it's hot, but once that sun goes down, especially being near mountains, it gets cold, and you're like, oh, actually I have to grab a jacket, you know, like, you don't think to, like, oh, you know, you're so used to it being, you know, 100, 104, whatever here that you don't, you know, going to these cooler climates, it's such a relief to be able to get out of that heat, and sometimes, like, having to actually bundle up instead of, you know, sweating and having every window open trying to bring in air.
Yeah. I mean, like, people up north, you know, like right now, I mean, they're camping all over the place, right? And that's great, but then, you know, November through, you know, March or April, they can't because it's just snowed in.
Snow.
That's when we make hay, like
Right.
like we're going, like we have 3 things, we're doing. We don't know where we're going at Thanksgiving yet. Probably Arkansas or Oklahoma, and then Big Bend, and then next year spring breaks, a road trip. We're not doing Route 60-70 again, but I think we're going to do the El Camino Real,
wow.
the old Spanish Trail, which led from Mexico up through San Antonio up through East Texas. Nice. So I think that's what we're going to look at doing this year. So.
And then another thing, not really pertaining sort of to the bus, there's sort of something going on, and I know that this is something that concerns you, of keeping people involved in this scene, because it's very sad to say, and I'll say it, that it's slowly dying. If we don't keep this thing alive, it's gonna be gone. It's up to people of my generation, like having a kid or like a young adult interested in Volkswagens is something that's very important. And I know you got, you looked out with Jake and my dad, my dad with me and like other people with their kids.
Yeah.
It's just like, you got to keep this thing rolling because it's...
So there's a lot of, you're right, Axel. I mean, like, obviously, we have Jake, but Jake's not a kid no more. He's, and
he's an adult.
Yeah, you're, you're still in school, college and everything, but we don't have kids coming up.
I want to do this.
Volkswagens used to be cheap.
Mm-hmm.
They're not cheap anymore.
Not at all.
That's one thing. We got to, Parv, he's interested in Volkswagens. We got to get him in one.
Right.
So he's a young guy. But it's not just that. It's the, obviously we have to have fresh blood coming in, fresh people coming in. And we do. It's weird. Like we had the June bug a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I mean, I know it's in June, people are on vacation, that kind of thing, but I will say to some degree, I am disappointed a little bit in the numbers that people, I understand things come up,
right?
But at the same time, when it is, and if we don't support events, those events will go away.
Right.
And then you won't have anything.
Right. And I know, like, the amount of work that y'all put into Junebug or the harvest or just anything, it takes a village. It's not easy to, even arranging a small show, there's so much to worry about with the venue, with anything. And I know over the years I've really appreciated all the work that y'all put in, even before I could drive, going with my dad to all these events and just creating memories. And now since getting my car, the memories that I've made, and like, even if you see the same people every time, like at In-N-Out or Top Notch, it's still community.
Yeah.
And it's a very good group of people. I'm very lucky to have grown up with this group of people and the friendships I've made because of old German cars that you talk about it, you make lifelong friends because of this.
Yeah.
And just being able to have people that that you can rely on when you need something, like, hey, I need a part or I need help with doing something to a car, and it's like, when are we doing it? What do we need to bring? And it's really just a sense of community.
Right.
Like, you see that with other car groups, like there's the muscle cars and there's whatever imports, but you see the community. To me, it's really strong. It seems stronger being Volkswagen people, because it's just, there's all the late model and whatever, but when you go through issues and stuff as much as you do with these, like, kind of what I told you about what I'm experiencing with my car, you kind of like, you see how willing people are to help out.
Yeah.
Do a good turn.
Well, that's it. We have to support each other. We have to support events. If we're not careful, you get all fractured and you get little fiefdoms everywhere, and
right.
and it doesn't raise the tide at all.
Right.
And so, we need to make sure that we're supporting events. We need to make sure that we were bringing new people out, that we're encouraging people. You know, especially now. I mean, it's like in the old days we just tagged Volkswagens in town, but you know that was 20 something years ago, and more people were driving their Volkswagens. Just that was their daily, and now you know those
People
cars
drive
that
new
were
cars.
those cars then were 20 years old, but now they're 40 something years old, and they're like less, you know, so they're less likely to be driving, and so you can tag people. But if, you know, that's the thing. We have I think we have a very active community here in this area.
Oh, yeah.
We got lots going on, and we just want to make sure everybody's is doing it. You know, Bill is doing a cool thing. He takes his bus, his camper Westie Lola to meetups, and he always gives little Hot Wheels to little cars. Excuse me, little Hot Wheels to little kids, and I think there's a backstory on that. Somebody did that for him when he was little, and it's just so you know that makes
that difference.
Yeah, that's the thing, and those little kids are going to connect that car. And of course, it'd be even cooler if it was all Volkswagens we could give kids, you know, because that's what you want them to gravitate towards. But that's the number one thing is we
got to keep it alive.
We got to keep the community going and keep building and supporting. You know, that's the thing, and that's my big thing. It's just you know, I mean, like it's it's a lot easier to go out and I don't know. It's just. When there's events going on, you know, you can't make all of them, but it's good to try to support as many as you can. It's a part of the growth of the community, and you know, and we do have a good, strong thing here. I think our area here is doing really well. You know, I mean, I have never been out to California. I mean, I know they got all kinds of shows crazy out there and everything.
Especially with all the VW parts places that are like...
so I mean, that's like the epicenter. But you know, there's no reason why we can't do the same. And continue to grow here.
Right. We just need to, you know, like you always say, even if it's something small, start something.
Yep.
You know, if it's a you know, weekly or monthly thing, like we do it in and out. Just, you know, for a couple hours, people can come hang out, you know, get a bite to eat, you know, something that'll keep people going, and then you gain interest and you bring people in. I think that's the biggest part, is getting people into it now. Like you talk about how y'all tag cars. I was driving my dad's Beetle the other day, and I look in the glove box, and he still has a stack of the old air coolers, tag things.
Me and Deep Eddie.
Yeah, back when the group used to meet.
Yeah, he might ought to throw those away. Those are. Of course, those might have antique value.
Those, probably older than me, you know.
Yeah, they are, dude.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, they're older than you.
Is there?
Yeah, we need to do. We need to make tag ups for the Top Notch for sure, for third and fourth Saturdays at Top Notch, and
then for In and Out,
and then for In and Out on first Wednesdays. You know, and I mean, and look, we have 3 solid events that people can attend. They can go all 3. You can go to 1, you can 2, whatever.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't have to be all of them, as long as you're coming out to something.
Yeah.
So I think that's about all the questions. Is there anything else about the bus that you want to point out or mention that might be cool or unique to the story and the time you found it?
You know, I mean, I can't think of anything. I mean, as far as along those lines, I mean, you know, it's suited me well.